Collins.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And I want to start by thanking Mr. Schrader for his excellent summary of the issues that we're bringing. Mr. Schrader and I co-sponsored a letter to the administrator of the EPA as well as the Secretary of the Department of Army that was signed by 231 members of Congress. It's not easy to get members to sign such letters, let alone 231 letters on a bipartisan way, including the chairman of every committee in Congress. So when Professor Busby speaks about the impact, or what he would suggest is not, as I agree with Mr. Schrader, the greatest expansion, land grab, power grab that's ever occurred in the history of the EPA, and certainly I think our testimony from Mr. Field, Mr. Parks, Mr. Woods confirms that. So for the record, I would like to point out to Professor Busby, not to nitpick, but I think it's important, Professor. When you were questioned by Ms. Chu about certain issues, let me reiterate how you responded. I'm not aware, as far as I know. A possibility. I don't know. My guess is. I believe that. Those were your words, Professor. So when we talk about uncertainty, and I hear our farmers, and Mr. Schrader and I were asked to lead this letter by the Farm Bureau. Our farmers, which grow the food that feed Americans and actually feed many around the world, are scared to death of this overreach and what it might mean. And again, it goes back to uncertainty. It goes back to the fact that outreach was not made to small business, to the farming community, and the like. Frankly, the rule needs to be returned. That's what Mr. Schrader and I and 229 other members of Congress have simply asked at this point. They got too far out ahead, as has been pointed out. 2008, 2009, 2010 it is fundamentally flawed as a beginning data point. And the fact that we haven't done a true economic analysis is, I think, a reasonable request that we have made. Simply return the rule. Let's take this off the fast track that it's on. Let's get back to regular order. Let's do what we should be doing. And I think I'm confident with the input of the Farm Bureau, the home builders, the construction trades, we're not making a mountain out of a molehill. And my other concern, and maybe I'll just ask for a brief comment, is on the effect on the economy and jobs. We have an economy that's sputtering, that's lost steam. Our kids are graduating. They don't have the jobs. We need to grow our way out of the deficits and debt problem we have. And just, Mr. Field, the simple kind of question, does a rule like this, because I certainly believe it's another hindrance in our growing our economy. Uncertainty brings lack of investment. Certainly would like your opinion.
You've just hit the nail on the head, sir. The lack of clarity on this rule, regardless of the industry you're involved in, not knowing, not being able to tell your lender with certainty that the activity you're about to enter into is not going to carry the potential legal liability of a violation of the Clean Water Act or the ability to have the citizens suit provision of Section 505, it's unthinkable.
Uncertainty means lack of investment. Mr. Parks?
Yes, just to add to what Mr. Field indicated, most of our holdings, I would say roughly 80% are leased. These issues affect private landowners. It's not just Memphis Stone and Gravel Company. And so bottom line is if we're able, if the rules require more areas subject to regulation, then that certainly can limit the amount of resources that we can recover. And that translates into cost and value to the property owner as well as us.
Yeah, Mr. Woods.
Yes, it's going to have a devastating effect. I'll give you an example. One of my subdivisions in Mr. Graves' district has over 800 units. If it were built out, it would be subject to this. It's in fact the one that I mentioned took 2.5 years and several hundreds of thousands of dollars to get the permit in the first place under the old rule. I wouldn't go forward with getting it under the new rule. But if you take that and just extrapolate it, every house or every unit by our standards means about 3.7 jobs. If you look at the tax bills and burdens and what they generate, it's in the thousands of dollars to the municipality and the state and the federal government. And That's just one subdivision. I'm not the big developer in Kansas City. I'm just one of the medium-sized guys, but you'd have to take that number and add it and then go across the country and say how many are there. You're talking millions of jobs that will be lost simply because we cannot get the permits.
Yeah. Thank you all very much. Real quick, Mr. Parks, our time's expired, but
Congressman, if I could just add that our biggest customers are DOTs, Mississippi Department of Transportation, Tennessee Department of Transportation. They have to deal with the same issues that we as industry have to deal with in determining what's jurisdiction and getting permits to do what they do.
right.
Thank you.
Thank you all very much. Yield back, Mr. Chairman.
Mr.